something pretty worrying is happening across Western countries in 2025. We're seeing reports and early data that all point to a stark picture. Islamophobia isn't just sticking around, it seems to be getting worse. Take the United States, for example. Reported incidents of Islamophobia shot up by a shocking 300% in only 2 months after the Gaza conflict started. So, is this just a temporary blip, or are we looking at a deeply concerning new normal for Muslim communities? The numbers coming out in 2025 are frankly deeply concerning. It looks like we might be undoing nearly a decade of progress in some areas. The Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR, they flagged a record 8,658 complaints of anti-Muslim and anti-Arab incidents in the US during 2024. That's the highest they've seen since they started keeping track way back in 1996, and it's a 7.4% jump from the year before. And this isn't just happening in the US. Over in Europe, the EU Agency for Fundamental Rights, or FRA, put out a report late in 2024. It revealed that almost half of the Muslims they surveyed, 47%, had experienced racial discrimination in the previous 5 years. That's a big jump from 39% back in 2016. Some countries have particularly alarming figures. In Austria, for instance, staggering 71% of Muslims said they'd been targeted. Germany and Finland are also showing high rates of discrimination. And places like France and Germany have seen sharp rises in both Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. Even somewhere like Australia, the Scanlon Foundation noted a big increase in Islamophobia reports. In 2024, 309 incidents, which is way above the annual average of 61 they've seen over the last 10 years. And we have to keep in mind that so many incidents around the world just don't get reported, so the true scale of this could be even bigger. Behind all these statistics, there are real people, real families, and entire communities feeling the impact. This rise in Islamophobia shows up in so many painful ways. We're talking about job discrimination, where people are turned away from opportunities just because of their faith or where they seem to come from. CAIR's 2024 data actually showed employment discrimination was the most common complaint they received. Then there's discrimination in schools and a really disturbing increase in hate crimes. This isn't just nasty words, it's threats. It's physical assaults, and it often targets those who are visibly Muslim, like women wearing religious attire. It affects everyday life. We hear reports of Muslims feeling unsafe in public, online, even just going about their day. This builds an atmosphere of fear and anxiety, which really hits mental health and pulls at the fabric of our communities. The UN Secretary General has spoken out against this ongoing anti-Muslim hatred time and again, warning that it's a troubling trend that doesn't just target Muslims but other minority groups too. So what's actually fueling this surge in Islamophobia in 2025? It seems to be a mix of complex things. Big global events, especially the Gaza conflict that started in October 2023, have definitely had a ripple effect. We've seen a rise in both anti-Muslim and anti-Semitic incidents in Western countries because of it. Reports suggest this conflict has really acted as a trigger for anti-Muslim sentiment across Europe, but it's not just about specific events. The The kind of negative talk we hear in public, often amplified by some politicians and certain media stories, also plays a part. When anti-Muslim rhetoric gets more airtime and starts to feel mainstream, it can make intolerance and prejudice seem almost normal. Misinformation and those old tired stereotypes that try to link all Muslims with extremism or paint Islam as a threat to Western values, they continue to do so much damage. On top of that, CAIR's look at complaints in the US showed that discrimination based on people's viewpoints, especially if they spoke out against what was happening in Gaza, was a major factor in many cases. When you look at the data and listen to what Muslim communities are actually going through in 2025, it paints a pretty tough picture. The big question we really have to ask ourselves is whether this spike is becoming a new settled reality of increased Islamophobia in the West. Yes, governments and organizations are trying to do some things, like bringing in anti-hate crime laws, running awareness campaigns, and some countries are even appointing special envoys or trying to properly define anti-Muslim hatred. But you can't deny how widespread this issue is. Experts are seriously concerned about how anti-Muslim hatred is becoming normalized in public conversations because it can make those who spread hate feel like they can get away with it. This isn't just about a few isolated incidents. We're talking about system-wide problems that need a response from all angles. What do you think about all of this? I'd be really interested to hear your respectful opinions in the comments below. If you found this information useful, please give this video a like, subscribe for more discussions like this, and share it to help spread awareness. The trends we're witnessing in 2025 really do need urgent attention. Tackling Islamophobia isn't just about protecting one group of people. It's about holding on to the values of equality, justice, and respect for everyone in our increasingly diverse Western societies. If we ignore this rise or just let it become the new normal, it's going to have serious consequences for how we live together and for basic human rights. The challenge is clear. We need to actively fight this prejudice and work towards a future where nobody has to live in fear simply because of their faith or their background.